My name is Kim Estes, and we are in Bellevue, Washington, and I am the co-founder of P.E.A.C.E of Mind, which stands for Parent Education and Child Empowerment. We started this organization in 2006 after two predatory incidents happened at not only my daughter's school but at my friend's school, and we realized very quickly that there was a large gap in information available to parents on how to proactively talk to their kids about staying safe, because that was the first thing, that was our first inclination when these predatory incidents happened. We're like, how can we protect our kids? How do we learn the best tactics to do this? And what we were finding was everything was very outdated, or it was scary, or just wasn't really user-friendly for parents. We had started the process after the first incident, and then the second one, that just did it for us. We got on the ball very quickly, and we're up and running, filed as a 501c3, began teaching. We sought out all the best experts in the United States to help us build this curriculum, and we just were moms on a mission, and that's what we've been doing ever since, and so here we are. It was in 2006, and we were approaching our elementary school. School was out, although there were people on the elementary school grounds playing. There were adults present, and we were all going up to check the class lists that get posted about a week before school starts. So there was a lot of activity and a lot of excitement. And as I was leaving, my neighbor and my friend approached me, and she looked very distraught, and she said, "I need your help." And this man came on the school ground. He did these things. This just happened. We've been with the police this afternoon. I need you to talk to the mom network. I need you to get the mom network involved. This man came onto the school grounds and tried to approach the girls and talk to them. Did some of the classic lure stuff, and then when the girls, sensing that feeling that something wasn't right, they began to back away. Well, he then exposed himself and began to masturbate in front of the girls. You know, we were very fortunate. The police worked very hard. We got very involved with the media, and they did eventually catch this guy a few short months later. And it also shattered the myth of this creepy person that you thought would crawl out of the woods. This was a man who was an attorney. He was an educated, employed family man in our community that had been doing these hideous things and was accelerating his behavior and had been doing it for 2 years. When he was arrested, we thought, woohoo! He was an attorney. He knew the law. He knew how far he could take the law. He knew exactly what he could say and do, to what limit he could push it without pushing too far. So the law was, we thought that was it. He was going to be disbarred. He was going to be a registered sex offender. He was going to go to jail, and almost none of that happened. He wasn't disbarred. And in fact, he really only received disciplinary action from the Washington State Bar Association after the mothers became enraged. You know, his crime, because he knew what to say and not to say to the girls, he only got a misdemeanor, which is not really a registered sex crime. It's treated the same as jaywalking. It's pretty amazing that you can walk on an elementary school ground, expose yourself, try to lure a child away, begin masturbating, and be treated like you were a jaywalker. He had been doing this 2 to 3 times a week for 2 years. One parent reported the crime when it happened to their daughter, when he did the same thing. And that dummy, he'd approached the same girl again a year later. Her parents called the police. He received time, and he received a sex offense because stalking is a felony in the state. That's how they got him. And then within a few months later, Sabrina called me, and again, it was an early morning call. She was very distraught and said, "This horrible thing has just happened. This predator has focused on my daughter. He's published her information on the internet." And that story actually went national, and that was huge. And so there was just, at that point, no turning back. Also the question was, well, what about the law? You know, aren't there laws in place? And that was a harsh reality for us when we realized that the laws, you know, laws are there for people who want to obey them, and there are not a lot of good laws, and people were very shocked at to what level a predator could take something and not really be punished. The predator had an online pedophilia, pro-pedophilia site where he went to public venues, photographed children, and then rated them, and then gave a guide to pedophiles on how to find and attract and look for young children, particularly little girls. What happened to my girlfriend was that she, my co-founder, Sabrina, was she received a phone call from her school, and a senator's office had contacted the school and said, we've got a situation, and apparently people had been monitoring, law enforcement had been monitoring it, but what had transpired this time that was different above all the other instances was this time he had published her name, her school, her age, her teacher, and all of this information was innocently gained from a program leaflet for a play. The school had had a play, an elementary school play where parents and grandparents go to, and he had popped in on it. He had paid his admission. He sat there. He photographed. He took that brochure and took that information from there and put it all on the web for the whole world, the whole pedophile world to see. It's not illegal to do that. And that was a big shock. And people were outraged. Oh, it's illegal. He shouldn't be able to. Yeah, he shouldn't. But guess what? It's not against the law. We started meeting with politicians. We started meeting, with law enforcement and community leaders. And everybody had the best intentions, but nobody had an answer. Nobody had a program. Nobody had a solution. Nobody had an education curriculum that could teach us. And so it just, every step further we took it, we realized we got to do this ourselves. Two moms, Sabrina and I, said enough. Done. And we're not waiting another minute. We're not waiting another second. We're going to do this right now. And we're going to do whatever it takes. And so we've been volunteering for 3 years, almost full time, to educate parents. And that's all we do. We do a lot of safety fairs where we just kind of disseminate information to the public. And that's just kind of a broad overview and just kind of a little introduction. It's a gentle introduction. We often go into PTAs and we go to their meetings and we work with the parents and we give a workshop and we send them home with materials. We also try to encourage them to sign up for our tip of the month. And so each month it's a little reminder to the parent. We do caregiver trainings. And we often try to work as much as possible with what we would consider probably the most at-risk communities. A lot of those communities are in transitional housing, so we do a lot of free workshops as much as possible for those at-risk community members. The bottom line is that we just give caregivers and parents, grandparents, or any care provider the tools they need to start that conversation and make that first step confidently with those children. Because for every one adult who takes a safety class, 10 kids are protected. So that's a huge ripple effect. Any donations, we're fully tax deductible. We are a 501c3. For every $20 that's donated, we can protect a whole family. That's about what it costs to protect a family. $200 can go in and do an entire apartment complex. So, I mean, the money goes a long way. It is absolutely, hands down, the most unbelievably rewarding job I have ever had next to being a mom. You just cannot put a value on having a mom who's come up to you afterwards and said, I was abused as a child sexually, and I am doing everything in my power, and had my parents had this class, had my parents known these simple tools, they probably could have protected me. Had they known not to ignore the red flags you teach, I wouldn't have had to endure the pain that I did. And I'm going to do everything I can to protect my kids, and I'm going to do everything that you've recommended in this workshop. I mean, that's what keeps us going.